Hi everyone, I hope you're good guy and welcome to a new video. So let's recreate all of these tracks you just heard from scratch. So there is 8 different tracks and let's get started with the kick. So in terms of MIDI note, it's just F-1 playing 4 to floor. So this is with the basic patch. There is no effect yet, but I will put some. I'm just gonna reduce the sustain straight away because otherwise it's too long. And you can choose, we're gonna use the Noise Engineering engine today. So I'm gonna use the bass for the kick drum. Then it's really depend how you want things, but I'm gonna add, you can play with wave and timbre to kind of shape and have different kind of harmonic, different kind of tone. This is really up to you how you want things. You can crank up a little bit more. I'm gonna stay like around 50 here. I'm not gonna put noise. Now let me control the GK as well, maybe 1.6 or so, something around there. Now this is a good bass, and obviously there is different way to kind of create your kick. You can either apply a low pass filter with a strong resonance with an envelope, or apply an envelope to your pitch, and we're gonna do both. So low pass filter we're gonna use, bring it down, crank up the before cranking up the resonance, I'm gonna actually apply the filter envelope. So this depends again how punchy you want your kick. I'm gonna go around 40, and you can bring up your resonance. So again, this is depend if you the tone of your kick you want, but I'm gonna stay around there. And now what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna use this envelope to modulate the pitch. So here I'm gonna go in the matrix up, and I'm gonna go envelope pitch, and then it's really depend what the intensity you want. You can get something super punchy, something a bit more soft. You can play with the GK as well to kind of adjust. And yeah, I'm gonna stay around this way. And this is something that I like already. So now I'm gonna add some effect. Here I add 3 effects. So the first one is the drum bass, which in hard mode and compression with a bit of drive kind of boost everything, a bit of transient, a bit of crunch, super effective drum bass for kick. And then overdrive, what I like to do is having a very narrow frequency range and just pick up around 60 or 50 Hz, add a bit of drive, a bit of tone, and then dry wet. And then it's just the rumble. This is one of my rack, I will put the link in the description. Okay, and we got our kick. Alright, so now let's move into the bass line. So in terms of the note, this time we have F, F sharp. And basically you can see I wanted first to do like a pattern like this, like just having always the same. And then on the end I decided, like, you know, I could maybe like having one pattern like this and one pattern which is half shorter. And so I've done this way, and it's kind of giving a nice movement to the track. So that is our main melody. So again, I'm gonna bring down the sustain, and I'm gonna use again the bass. This one is very nice. What I like, and especially you're gonna see with this one, when you bring a bit of noise, the thing what's gonna be happening is gonna always kind of change and never really be the same. So then after the wave and the timbre is really how to you can get different kind of tone. But you hear already how it's always changing, and that is because of the noise of the shape button basically. So that's something I really love this oscillator, because and alright, so next thing you want to do is you want to bring down a little bit your low pass filter. You can bring actually maybe to the minimum. The thing is we're gonna apply an envelope modulation on it, so this way it's gonna get pluckier. So then the intensity is again up to you how you want something stronger or not. And so I say no sustain, 1.6 the release, the GK release. The resonance is depends. You can maybe go until 68. Because like this you get this nice kind of resonant effect. Alright. So now one thing I wanted to do is kind of add a bit of movement to this bass line, and a good way to do that is to add some randomness on the filter. So this way sometimes it's gonna open a bit more than other time, and the great way is because as well with the shape here, which is added by a bit of randomness, even if it's the same tune not playing all the time, it will always change and evolve. So we're gonna actually modulate our filter with our LFO. So let's go there and let's pick up LFO cutoff. Now the amount, you want something not too much, let's say 13.8. So now you have something weird because you have the sine wave, but you wanna put random. And I'm gonna put 16. The reason why is because actually here you need to activate the up and up is sync, and now you get this. Always changing baseline. Maybe reduce a little bit the. One thing you can do is modulate the filter with the cycling envelope to make it always move, but I would rather play with. And now we're gonna add some effect. So for this one, the effect I use is my ultimate track. It's basically distortion, delay, and reverb. I use this for all of the other tracks. It's a great way to quickly add some effect. Obviously, the point here is more like the sound design about the Microfreak. It's not really about the effect and the processing. But yeah, with the effect, it sounds like this. So you can see how the random always like kind of make things move. And then you can play live with the cutoff. And yeah, that's it for the bass. Alright, next up we have chords. So basically this two note is again F and B, so it's like 6 semitone upper. You need to be in paraphonic because it's gonna be a kind of a chord sound. So you want you so we're gonna use the so X, this one, and we're gonna put the wave actually at 0 and the shape at around 50. Same with the noise. We want a low pass filter, and what we want is no resonance, and we want it to be like a stronger envelope filter, and then you can reduce the sustain because we want something more plucky, and then the length as well, something short. And now what we're gonna do is we're gonna modulate our cutoff with LFO. So you might wonder why use an envelope and LFO to modulate the cutoff. The envelope is more like to shape the tone of the sound, the character, rather than the LFO. It's gonna really like to kind of make your sound always change and always evolve. So let's apply our LFO to the cutoff. And this again, usually you don't go to, depend really what you want, but I try always to stay a bit subtle, to don't be too much. Obviously it depends what you are after, but. And then you can say in sine or triangle, they both work well, and then in sync you want something very slow. And yeah, then after the filter amount is just depending what you like. And yeah, that's pretty much it. That was a simple sound, but I wanted something like that just to be like a bit more in the background. In terms of effect, what I've done here is I just add, well, the Q was last more for mixing, and a lot of reverb, delay, and the autopan, which is gonna move left to right. And yeah, that's something like more like in the background. Not in the background, but it's not one of the main hits, but it's there without being really there. Next one, we have the hats. So it's a classic 16 close hi-hat. And so you have a noise oscillator basically, but I want you to use only the noise engineering one. So I've used the bass, and in the bass you have some noise here. Obviously you can play after with the other macro to kind of shape it the way you want. And the idea here, so you want to use a low pass filter. First thing, actually, let me bring down this sustain and the GK. I'm gonna put shorter. But yeah, you can hear now a little bit better how timbre is gonna kind of change the tone of your hats. And the idea here is with the high pass filter, to use the high pass filter and to go like around, let's say 9 kilohertz. And you see if I go a little bit more down, I hear a little bit more the metallic things. But the thing is, the idea is to make the cutoff a little bit more upper, bring a bit of resonance, and then use the filter envelope to kind of bring the cutoff a little bit down. So this way we can catch this resonance here. All right, so what I'm gonna do is, then I'm gonna go to filter amount, and I'm gonna slightly go down. And this way I catch a little bit of this harmonic. I don't want too much, just a little bit. But like this, I have this. And if I open the GK, obviously, I got a bit more noise from my hats. Obviously, here the interesting thing is to be able to modulate that in an interesting way. So we're gonna use the cycling envelope to modulate the GK. So this one by default is not patchable here. You don't have it in the matrix. You just hold a sign and just turn the knob. This way it's now assigned. So we want our cycling envelope to modulate this. Now how much you want, it really depends. You can really get different kind of tone, but we're gonna go something like not too much for now. And then you can play with the rise and fall to kind of make it modulate differently. So this is really up to you how you want. You can have one longer than the other. You can see it's already creating this kind of nice groove. But now the interesting things, as you can see, when I was turning this one, it was getting longer and creating nice move. What about to use the LFO to modulate actually this fall? So here again, I'm gonna use the matrix to do that. Obviously, you don't have the fall on the default, so I'm gonna hold a sign and go to fall time. And now I want the LFO to modulate that, so I'm gonna go to LFO here and to assign 2. And then here again, the amount is really up to you. So I'm gonna go a little bit more here. So obviously now you have something weird because the rate here is probably too fast. But if I go a little bit slower, and maybe put the triangle, you see I have a nice groove, and you can change the rate. And you're gonna get different kind of groove. And yeah, that's pretty much how you get the sound. Then after, you just put some delay and reverb. And you get a nice, interesting hat shuffling pattern. All right, next one is what I call noise. So this one is gonna be this kind of clicky ambience, more like in the background. So like more something noisy, a bit metallic. So the pattern is like this, is F, and it's playing this way. And yeah. So let's change our oscillator to X. Then again, it's because it's gonna be noisy, so it's a little bit of trying things, maybe adding noise first. Again, if I reduce that, maybe I'm gonna put a bit longer. But yeah, you can play with shape. So mod. You can see just if I change a little bit how it changed already a little bit the tone. Eh? And now again you want your high pass filter, so it's gonna be a little bit add a bit of resonance. And now we're gonna add a bit of envelope, but this time it's different than what we done before. You remember this one before I put it a little bit more up to bring the envelope down. Here is a bit different. You can hear this effect I start to get. And that's what I was after. So now to make the sound a little bit interesting, you can maybe kind of use the envelope to modulate the pitch here. So this is just kind of change the tone a little bit. But I think I'm gonna use the cycling envelope to kind of modulate the wave. So I'm gonna go there. Cycling envelope, modulating the wave. This is just to add a bit of variation. And I'm gonna change. So this I'm gonna put it in loop. And here I'm gonna put like more 1 second. To have something a little bit more nicer. And then I'm gonna use the LFO to modulate the cutoff slightly. This is just gonna be a very slight modulation. It's just to make things always evolve. So I'm just gonna put 1 and the rate. I'm gonna go something very slow. I'm gonna actually. So this sound a bit not too loud, but what I like with this kind of sound, and what thing we can do a bit of attack to kind of remove this clicky. And so I like this kind of sound because now when you add a bit more ambience, now it sounds like this. And you have the auto pan going on the left and right, which kind of always make it move and make it interesting. Obviously, a long delay, long reverb. And yeah, that's it for our noise. Let's talk about ambience now. So this one I call it ambience, but it's kind of like a scent in the background. And I'm gonna use this time harmonic from Noise Engineering, and I'm gonna this now especially rhythm, just like experiment. I really like the noise, what is adding to this oscillator. It's really nice all the time. So that was our initial ID. I'm gonna use a bandpass filter. So then you can, I'm gonna put it low because again, I'm gonna modulate it with an envelope, the resonance. Usually between 30 and 50% is a good way to add a bit of character without having too much resonance. Obviously, it depends on your sound, but no sustain, attack 0, decay 1.7, and now we can play a little bit with the filter envelope. So all right, and because you have the resonance, you see it's accentuating the effect. So now let's add a little bit more character. So here again, I'm gonna use the envelope to modulate the pitch at a very small amount. This is something I like to do sometimes because it adds a bit of character. So I'm just gonna go to my matrix here and go to pitch, and I'm gonna go not too much because after it sounds too weird. But yeah, get this weird vibe. And now the idea is the sound is pretty much it, and now it's adding some modulation using the cycling envelope and the LFO to make things evolve a little bit and change slightly over time. So we can start with the LFO, which is gonna modulate the wave. So you go to your matrix, LFO wave. So here we're gonna go for something like something slight, up 1.7, that's 1.8. And then the LFO, you want some randomness, and I'm gonna put 1 because obviously you can see here it's 1 bar, so every bar is gonna be a new random step, which is gonna slightly change your wave parameter. So this is very slight, but it adds a little bit. Then we want maybe our cutoff to evolve a little bit. We're gonna use the cycling envelope for that. So I'm gonna go there, and I'm gonna put. Okay, now you are kind of a vibrato, but we're gonna change this, and we're gonna put something like 10 seconds maybe, and to come back 4. So that's gonna slightly rise. You see the cutoff up, and then go down 4 seconds, and different speeds give a nice variation. Now you can use this cycling envelope to change the timbre as well. So we can use, I think it's already assigned, but no, we're gonna use assign 1 to assign here, and I'm gonna click here, and I'm gonna put alright, so this is very subtle effect, but it's gonna slightly make your sound evolve. And now our sound is pretty much done. What we're gonna do now is to add a lot of effect, and we're just gonna really like create this ambience in the background and this sound. So now with the effect we have something like this. So the cool thing with this rack is a different type of reverb, and I can control the decay, the amount. So if I want to something a bit shorter with different color, I could have done it as well. I will put the link in the description in this rack if you want to grab it. Alright, then we have our lead. So here you can see the pattern is quite pretty simple. It's F sharp. The interesting thing is the length. You see it's 1 bar and 1 beat, which is gonna always kind of never stay the same and play the same according to your kick. Let's play it basic note. So here I've used the oscillator bass, and then again some duration. I'm just maybe gonna play with the. So I'm gonna put this way, but here you're gonna see really what's gonna make the sound. I didn't add noise. So now the idea was to use the LFO to kind of modulate the pitch, to kind of create kind of FM. So that's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna go to LFO pitch, and I'm gonna go -72. So here obviously it sounds bad because I want the LFO to be NSYNC, and I want my LFO super fast. So and now you get something like a bit nicer, a bit more metallic and weird. And that's what's really gonna shape the tone of the sound. Now we can shape a little bit more the sound. We're gonna apply the low pass filter. So I'm gonna apply an envelope as well. So a great amount, no sustain. The decay a bit longer than usual. So you see this, you can modulate later. I'm gonna bring it down first, but you can see, yeah. Get this, maybe add a bit of resonance. Again, until 50%, I like add a bit of character. without sounding too acid or too resonant, obviously. Now what we can do is we can use this envelope to modify other parameters to add a bit more character. So we can use the envelope to modify the timbre, for example, and we can use negatively. Okay, we can change maybe the wave actually. So okay. Okay, so now our sound is a bit static, so we're gonna modulate a little bit the cutoff to make it always change a little. So we already used the LFO for the FM on the pitch, so what you're gonna use is the cycling envelope to modulate the cutoff. So let's go to cycling envelope and cutoff. And I'm gonna slightly, not too much. Again, it's weird because we need to modify here. So I'm gonna leave it in run, and in terms of time, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go for something long, like around 8 seconds maybe. And same to come back. Maybe a bit shorter. Here it's always no sustain and the amount is always at the maximum by default. And you can see how it evolves. Obviously you can play with the filter live, but then now one important part as well is the effect, and with the effect now it sounds like this. Alright, finally our ride. So this one is a little bit, I call it ride, it's quite a special one as well. Let me renit, sorry for the very high note. You can see it's playing F#8, and you have kind of classic ride pattern. So let me actually go to harmonic and change to maybe 55. Let me actually add a bit of noise because there is this resonance, which is annoying. Rectify 100%, noise 100%, and then you can play with the spread. So here again, sorry, I should always remove the sustain, this way you have a better idea how it affects the sound. So yeah, the decay it's 1.2. So here we're gonna use high pass filter as well, as same I did for the hats, with a bit of resonance, let's say 50%. And here I'm gonna use the envelope to modify the wave. So I can go to envelope and wave, and you can could hear, sorry, that was the original sound, and if you go down, so like I said, it's gonna be a weird ride, but that's how it sounds. Now what I wanted to do is kind of having a kind of a sidechain. So what I used the LFO to kind of modulate the cutoff. So that's what I'm gonna do now, LFO cutoff, and I'm gonna modulate it negatively. And you're gonna see why negatively. Because I'm gonna use the ramp up, and if I reduce the, now it's kind of a sidechain. Let me actually bring the volume up. So now you have kind of the sidechain because of the LFO on the cutoff. You see if I modulate. Then after you can decide the intensity of your LFO. And now I decided as well to use the cycling envelope to modulate the LFO to kind of get a different groove. So I'm going here, and here I'm gonna go negatively as well, minus 10.1, and I'm gonna use it in run, and then I'm gonna shape it 2.7 and fall maybe 1 second. So I like when it's taking longer, for example, to go up and then to go back down. And yeah, that's pretty much it. That's add a nice ride. So now if I add some effect, so that's almost like a synth, but it's very noisy. I call it a ride because it was more of the purpose of a ride, but I wanted something different than the classical ride, obviously. Alright, and that's it for today. So I hope you like this video. All the presets are available for free. All of the effects as well that I use and all of the presets for each track are available for free. I will also provide this ABLETON session so you can grab it and play around with. Don't forget to like and subscribe before to grab everything, and see you soon, guys. Bye bye.